The viral video showed a black man sitting with a white child in a coffee shop, and within hours, the entire city was calling him a kidnapper. What they didn't know was that Isaiah had just saved the mayor's daughter from being hit by a speeding car. The Amazon delivery truck's engine ticked as it cooled in the late afternoon sun, parked hastily on the curb of Maple Street. Isaiah Williams wiped sweat from his forehead with the back of his hand, his navy blue uniform already damp from another grueling day of racing against delivery quotas. 34 years old, 6'2", with gentle eyes that had seen too much of the world's cruelty, he'd been working this route for 3 years, invisible to most, essential to all. That's when he saw her. A small figure in pink pajamas stumbled into the middle of the street, her blonde hair catching the golden light. She couldn't have been more than 5 years old, her tiny bare feet stepping uncertainly on the hot asphalt. Isaiah's heart lurched as he spotted the black sedan speeding toward the intersection, the driver clearly distracted by his phone. "Hey!" Isaiah shouted, dropping his package scanner and sprinting toward the child. His long legs carried him across the street in seconds, his arms wrapping around the little girl just as the sedan's brakes screamed against the pavement. The driver finally looked up, eyes wide with terror, as his car came to a stop mere feet from where the child had been standing. The little girl was trembling, her blue eyes filled with tears that hadn't yet fallen. "I can't find Mommy," she whispered, her voice barely audible above the traffic noise. "Nina said she'd be right back, but she didn't come back, and I got scared." Isaiah's heart broke at the trust in her voice, the way she instinctively leaned into his chest. "It's okay, sweetheart. We're going to find your mommy, I promise." He looked around at the busy street, noting how people hurried past without a second glance. The child was clearly lost, probably wandering for a while given how far she was from any residential area. "Let's get you somewhere warm, okay?" Isaiah said gently, lifting her into his arms. The nearest business was Brew and Bean, a trendy coffee shop that catered to the city's young professionals. Isaiah had delivered packages there countless times, but had never stepped inside. The gleaming interior and designer coffee prices weren't exactly in his budget. The bell above the door chimed as Isaiah entered, the little girl still clinging to his neck. The warmth of the shop enveloped them, along with the rich aroma of espresso and fresh pastries. The afternoon crowd was typical, laptops open, conversations flowing, the gentle hum of productivity and privilege. Behind the counter, Melissa Chen looked up from the espresso machine, her perfectly styled bob framing a face that immediately hardened when she saw Isaiah. Her eyes darted from his uniform to the child in his arms, and Isaiah could practically see the assumptions forming behind her narrowed gaze. "Can I help you?" Melissa's voice was sharp, professional politeness barely masking suspicion. "Hi, I need to call 911, Isaiah said, approaching the counter carefully. "This little girl was lost in the street. I just want to get her somewhere safe while we wait for the police." "Lost?" Melissa's tone implied she didn't believe a word. "And you just happened to find her?" Isaiah felt heat rise in his cheeks but kept his voice steady. "She was in the middle of Maple Street, almost got hit by a car. I'm just trying to help." "Uh-huh," Melissa crossed her arms. And who are you to her exactly? I mean, why is this white child with you?" The coffee shop's ambient noise seemed to dim as nearby conversations paused. Isaiah was acutely aware of eyes turning toward them, phones potentially being raised. He'd lived this moment in different variations his entire life. The immediate suspicion, the presumption of guilt, the way his presence was automatically threatening. "I told you I found her lost, sir. I'm going to need you to step outside," Melissa interrupted, reaching for the phone behind the counter. "This doesn't look right." The little girl tightened her grip around Isaiah's neck. "Don't leave me," she whispered. "I'm scared." Isaiah's jaw clenched. Every instinct told him to walk away, to avoid the confrontation brewing in the coffee shop's artificial warmth. But looking down at this child, someone's daughter, someone's everything, he knew he couldn't abandon her to prove his innocence. "I'm not leaving her alone," Isaiah said quietly but firmly. "She's 5 years old and terrified. I'm calling 911 myself." As Isaiah pulled out his phone, the shop's front door chimed again. In walked Sandra Morrison, known throughout the neighborhood simply as Karen, a title she'd earned through countless complaints to management, HOA violations reported, and a particular talent for finding problems where none existed. Her perfectly highlighted hair was pulled back in a tight ponytail, and her yoga outfit suggested she'd just finished her daily routine of judging others at the gym. Sandra's eyes immediately locked onto the scene. A black man in a delivery uniform holding a white child who was clearly distressed. Without hesitation, without asking questions, without a single moment of consideration for context, Sandra pulled out her phone and began recording. "Oh my God," Sandra said loudly, making sure her voice carried across the shop. "This is exactly what I was just reading about online. Everyone, we need to document this." "Ma'am, please," Isaiah started, but Sandra was already in full performance mode. "I'm live streaming this," she announced, her voice pitched for maximum drama. "There's a black man with someone else's child, and something is clearly wrong here. The child looks terrified." The little girl buried her face deeper into Isaiah's shoulder, her small body shaking. "Too loud," she whimpered. "Make it stop." Isaiah's hands trembled with rage and helplessness. He could feel the phone cameras pointing at him, could hear Sandra's commentary gaining momentum, could see Melissa nodding approvingly as if her suspicions had been validated. "This is happening right now at Brew and Bean downtown," Sandra continued her live stream. "This man just walked in here with a child that's clearly not his. Look at her. She's obviously scared. This is what we need to be watching for, people. This is how children disappear. She was lost in the street." Isaiah's voice cracked with frustration. "I saved her from getting hit by a car." "That's what they always say," Sandra replied, zooming in on Isaiah's face. "Classic predator behavior, creating a scenario where they're the hero. I'm calling the police right now." Isaiah felt the walls closing in. The coffee shop patrons were all staring now, some with phones out, others whispering behind their hands. He was trapped in a nightmare of assumptions and prejudice, his good deed twisted into something sinister by people who saw his skin color before they saw his humanity. "Sweetheart," Isaiah whispered to the little girl, "can you tell these people your name? Can you tell them I helped you?" But the child was overwhelmed, the loud voices and camera flashes too much for her small mind to process. She just held on to Isaiah tighter, which only made him look more guilty in the eyes of his accusers. Sandra's livestream was gaining viewers by the minute, the chat filling with inflammatory comments and shares. "Yite! Kidnapper caught red-handed," she typed in all caps. "Black delivery driver with white child in downtown coffee shop. Child appears distressed. Police on the way." "This is why we stay vigilant, people." The video was shared, reshared, screenshotted, and reposted across every social media platform within minutes. Their kidnapper caught began trending as the story took on a life of its own. Facts be damned. Within 20 minutes, Isaiah heard the sirens. 2 police cars pulled up outside Brew and Bean, their red and blue lights casting ominous shadows through the shop's large windows. Officer Maria Rodriguez was the first through the door, her hand resting instinctively on her weapon as she assessed the situation. "We got a call about a possible abduction," Officer Rodriguez said, her eyes immediately finding Isaiah. "Sir, I need you to put the child down and step away." "Officer, please listen," Isaiah said, his voice steady despite the chaos around him. "This little girl was lost in the street. I prevented her from being hit by a car. I was trying to call 911 when these people started. Put the child down, now." Isaiah's heart shattered as he gently set the little girl on one of the coffee shop's plush chairs. She immediately reached for him, tears streaming down her face. "Don't go away," she cried. "Please don't go away like Nina did." Officer Rodriguez's partner, Officer James Mitchell, was already talking to Sandra, who was eagerly showing him her phone footage. "Got it all right here," Sandra was saying. "Suspicious behavior from the moment he walked in." The child was clearly distressed. "Nina?" Officer Rodriguez caught the name. She knelt down to the little girl's eye level. "Honey, who's Nina?" "My babysitter," the child sniffled. "She was supposed to watch me while Daddy was in his important meeting. But she left to get coffee and said she'd be right back. And then she didn't come back, and I got scared and tried to find her, and then the nice man stopped the car from hitting me." Officer Rodriguez's expression shifted slightly. She looked up at Isaiah, who was now handcuffed and sitting in one of the shop's chairs under Officer Mitchell's watchful eye. "What's your name, sweetie?" Officer Rodriguez asked gently. "Emma," the little girl said. "Emma Catherine Whitmore." The coffee shop fell silent. Even Sandra stopped her livestream commentary. Emma Whitmore, as in Mayor Robert Whitmore's daughter. The realization rippled through the room like a shockwave. Officer Rodriguez immediately radioed dispatch. "We need Mayor Whitmore contacted immediately. We have his daughter Emma at Brew and Bean on 5th Street. She appears to be safe, but we need him here now." Within minutes, the coffee shop was swarming with activity. Mayor Whitmore arrived with a security detail, his face pale with terror that quickly transformed into relief when he saw Emma safe. She ran into his arms, babbling about the nice delivery man who saved her from the scary car. "Nina was supposed to be watching her," Mayor Whitmore explained, his voice tight with controlled anger. "She was instructed never to leave Emma alone, under any circumstances. When I got out of my budget meeting, she was gone, and Emma was missing. We've been searching for 2 hours." Officer Rodriguez looked over at Isaiah, who was still handcuffed, and then at Sandra, whose face had gone pale as she realized the magnitude of her mistake. "Sir," Officer Rodriguez said to Mayor Whitmore, "it appears this gentleman prevented your daughter from being struck by a vehicle and was attempting to contact authorities when he was accused of abduction." Mayor Whitmore's eyes found Isaiah across the room. The delivery man sat with quiet dignity despite his restraints, his uniform wrinkled, his dignity intact. The mayor approached slowly, Emma still in his arms. "You saved my daughter," Mayor Whitmore said quietly. "She's a brave little girl," Isaiah replied. "Just needed someone to help her find her way home." The mayor turned to Officer Rodriguez. "Remove those handcuffs immediately." His voice carried the authority of his office, but more than that, it carried the gratitude of a father. As the handcuffs came off, Mayor Whitmore addressed the coffee shop full of onlookers and phone cameras. "This man is a hero. While others jumped to conclusions, he acted with courage and compassion to protect my child. The people in this room who assumed the worst should be ashamed of themselves." Sandra Morrison tried to slip toward the exit, but Mayor Whitmore's voice stopped her. "Ma'am, you're the one who filmed this, aren't you?" Sandra's face flushed red. I was just trying to protect the child. It looked suspicious." "What looked suspicious?" Mayor Whitmore's voice was ice cold. "A man helping a lost child? A man preventing my daughter from being killed by a speeding car? Or did it look suspicious because he was black?" The coffee shop was dead silent. Sandra opened her mouth, but no words came out. "Your video has been shared thousands of times in the past hour," Mayor Whitmore continued. "You've potentially destroyed an innocent man's reputation because of your prejudice. I suggest you spend some time thinking about what kind of person that makes you." Mayor Whitmore turned back to Isaiah. "I don't know how to thank you. Emma told me you put yourself in danger to save her. You could have been hurt." Isaiah shrugged, his humility unchanged by the revelation. Any parent would have done the same thing. She needed help. "Not everyone would have stopped," Mayor Whitmore said, "and certainly not everyone would have stayed to face false accusations rather than abandon a frightened child. That takes a special kind of character." 2 days later, Isaiah was back on his delivery route when his supervisor called. "Isaiah, you need to come in. The mayor's office has been trying to reach you." At City Hall, Mayor Whitmore offered Isaiah a position heading the city's new child safety initiative, a role that would pay twice his delivery salary and focus on creating programs to protect vulnerable children. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. The man falsely accused of harming a child was now being entrusted with protecting all of the city's children. Sandra Morrison's video had indeed gone viral, but not in the way she'd intended. Once the truth emerged, it became a powerful example of how quickly prejudice and assumptions can destroy innocent lives. Sandra deleted her social media accounts, but screenshots and mirrors of her video continued circulating as a cautionary tale. The incident sparked citywide conversations about implicit bias, the presumption of guilt based on race, and the courage required to do the right thing when the world is watching. Isaiah became an unlikely spokesman for these discussions, though he always redirected attention to the broader issues rather than his personal experience. "I didn't save Emma to be a hero," Isaiah said during a town hall meeting weeks later. "I saved her because she needed saving. The real question is, why did so many people assume the worst instead of seeing someone trying to help? And what are we going to do to make sure this doesn't happen to the next person?" Emma Whitmore, now 6 years old, still asks her father when she'll see Mr. Isaiah again. She doesn't understand the complexity of what happened that day in the coffee shop, but she understands kindness when she sees it. Her crayon drawing of Isaiah stopping the car hangs framed in Mayor Whitmore's office, a reminder that heroes don't always look like what we expect, Sometimes they look like a tired delivery driver in a wrinkled uniform, willing to risk everything to protect a child who isn't even his own. The city changed after that day, in small ways and large ones. Coffee shops started posting signs about not jumping to conclusions. The police department implemented new training about implicit bias. And somewhere in the city, a former delivery driver now spends his days making sure that no child is ever as lost and scared as Emma was that afternoon on Maple Street. But perhaps most importantly, a little girl learned that the world is full of people who will help her when she needs it most, and that heroes come in all colors, wearing all kinds of uniforms, driving all kinds of trucks. Sometimes they're exactly the person others least expect, and that's exactly when their heroism matters most.